Imagine a newborn child placed into a dark stone room, cut off from all human contact and spoken language. The goal was to see what natural language a human would speak if they were never taught one. This portrait shows King James IV of Scotland. In the 15th century, he attempted exactly this by stranding a mute woman and 2 infants on a deserted island. The children did not spontaneously speak Hebrew or the language of the gods, as the king had hoped. Stripped of social interaction, they suffered profound psychological trauma and simply failed to develop normally. It highlights a disturbing paradox. Much of our foundational knowledge regarding human biology and psychology was built on cruelty inflicted upon people who had no power to stop it. Today, we walk into clinics, roll up our sleeves for vaccines, and swallow prescribed medication with complete confidence. But the safety net protecting us was woven using data extracted from people who never consented to be test subjects. We are opening the files on these historical atrocities to make sense of a terrifying, highly classified experiment that recently leaked to the public. Because the boundary separating a life-saving medical pioneer from a monster is much thinner than we want to believe. In 1892, a German physician named Albert Neisser secretly injected female patients, including underage girls, with cell-free syphilis serum. It marked the beginning of an era where doctors weaponized their authority against the marginalized. This photograph shows a medical professional drawing blood from a subject in the Tuskegee syphilis study. Starting in 1932, the U.S. government tracked 600 impoverished African-American men in Alabama. Looking at this historical document, the text outlines the study's horrifying methodology. For 40 years, researchers actively denied these men access to penicillin, the known cure for syphilis, simply to watch the disease slowly destroy their bodies. Under the guise of receiving free healthcare from the state, vulnerable citizens were used as living petri dishes. Look at the children in this archival photograph. In 1939, researchers at the University of Iowa used healthy, institutionalized orphans like these for an experiment on speech pathology. The researchers subjected them to intense psychological pressure and relentless negative reinforcement. The deliberate goal was to induce permanent, severe stuttering. This peeling, derelict hallway belongs to a prison. During the Cold War, inmates at facilities like Holmesburg were exposed to highly toxic chemical warfare agents and radioactive isotopes. This aerial shot shows the sprawling footprint of the Hanford nuclear facility. Here, hospital patients and military employees were secretly exposed to weapons-grade plutonium to track how the human body absorbs radiation. As scientific ambitions scaled up into the atomic age, researchers simply expanded their definition of an expendable human life. The sheer scale of these global atrocities eventually forced society to a moral breaking point following World War II. This image captures defendants at the Nuremberg doctors' trial. The medical torture uncovered in Nazi concentration camps led directly to the drafting of the Nuremberg Code in 1947. This diagram highlights the core pillars of the 1979 Belmont Report: respect for persons, beneficence, and informed consent. The public outrage following the exposure of the Tuskegee study forced the U.S. government to formally codify these ethical standards. With the establishment of institutional review boards, or IRBs, all human research now required an independent ethical checkpoint. Informed consent became a mandatory barrier, meaning a patient had to know exactly what was being done to them. On paper, these strict codes created a system that protected the vulnerable and put an end to the era of the rogue scientist. But while the law governs what happens in the light, the hunger for pure, unrestricted data still remains. This document is a recreation of a highly redacted file leaked by a whistleblower in late 2022. It outlines an unverified clandestine project known only by its exact timeline, the 2 years and 20 minutes experiment. The files describe a small group of volunteers recruited under ambiguous circumstances. Once inside, they were subjected to extreme sensory isolation and experimental drug regimens. No official records or regulatory filings exist to verify the project. We do not know who ran it, what they were trying to learn, or what happened to the subjects when the clock finally stopped. Our ethical rulebooks can only restrain researchers who are willing to follow them. For those operating in the shadows, the darkest boundaries of science are still wide open.